This is your USMNT Abroad midweek update from January 27th to January 29th of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Then every Thursday, or most Thursdays, we update you on how the Yanks did abroad during the midweek, which is today's episode. And look, every single American was playing pretty much at the same time in the Champions League, so there were a lot of games to watch. I had a lot of screens all over my room. You know that creepy old man, the architect from The Matrix, in his room? That's what mine looked like. But you know, instead of watching corn like he does, I was watching a bunch of soccer games at the same time. It's true. It's very true. Now, before we start, don't forget to drop a like in this video. As always, I appreciate the support. We've been almost hitting 1,000 likes every single episode, and to that, I thank you. With that said, as always, drop a random comment to rig the YouTube algorithm, and let's play the intro, and let's start the episode. Okay, let's start with the Champions League, and the first two that I want to talk about are the Milan boys, Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musah. But look, I know it's still January, but Yunus Musah has already made it to Santa's naughty list. And guess who hasn't made it to Santa's naughty list so far? This guy. I never do. I'm a very well-behaved young man. And on Wednesday, Yunus Musah and Christian Pulisic both started for Milan during their 2-1 loss to Dinamo Zagreb. Okay, there is a lot to talk about here, and there's a lot to digest. Let's start talking about Yunus Musah. Okay, so Musah only played 39 minutes as a right winger. Now, he was actually having a good game, in my opinion. He was very aggressive on the ball, tracking back, he created a good chance, but then he shat the bed. Oh boy. He shat the bed so badly, as bad as a hungover frat boy the day after he loaded up on some Taco Bell. First, he got a silly yellow card after trying to drag a player off the ground, something like that, and then he got a second yellow card a few minutes later after a very poor decision of holding his opponent that was pretty much already losing the ball at that point. I do not know why Yunus Musah was holding him, and that was a very poor decision that led to a second yellow. Obviously, the second yellow came with the red card, and honestly, that is the big reason why Milan lost this game. Sure, their defense sucks, and Leão is very selfish. There's a lot of issues with Milan, but Musah's red card is probably the reason why they lost it. But let's talk about the guy that tried to save Milan, Christian Pulisic. So the first half for Pulisic was meh. He played as a 10, sometimes like a shadow striker in a 4-4-2 formation. That's what it looked like, at least on the defensive shape. But he wasn't great. He was dispossessed a lot, and he really didn't do much. But in the second half, he moved to the left wing, and he was actually quite incredible. By far Milan's best player. First and foremost, he scored for them, the only goal they scored this game from the edge of the box. It seems like his shot had a slight deflection, but it doesn't really matter, and he became the first American to score 4 goals in a single Champions League season. He looked sharp on the ball, he almost scored a header later in the game, he even put Rafael Leão in a 1v1 situation with the goalkeeper, where the Portuguese forward was able to draw a penalty kick, but in the process, he kind of elbowed the opponent, so they, called it back, and the penalty did not go through. But if it did go through, if they did call it, Pulisic probably would have had a brace because he would have taken the penalty, and we know Christian Pulisic never misses a penalty kick. Look, my point is pretty straightforward. To me, Christian Pulisic was the best player for Milan this game. It's not the first time this happens this season, and it probably won't be the last one. The next player would have been Florin Balogun, but he's currently injured, so he was not available for Monaco. He should be back in like 2 to 3 months. Next up, we have the Juve boys, Weston McKennie and Tim Weah. And on Wednesday, McKennie and Weah both started for Juventus and played the full 90 minutes for them during their 2-0 loss to Benfica. I wasn't able to watch this game, but I turned it on quickly. McKennie was playing as a left back, and Weah was playing as a right back. Yes, Weah was back to playing as a right back, as a fullback, but we haven't seen that all season. He's playing mainly as a forward, But, you know, in the past he played occasionally as a fullback, and that happened again, unfortunately. The good thing here is that Weston McKennie was their captain for this game, which is actually a pleasant surprise. And again, I didn't watch it, but I'll give you their FootMob ratings for whatever that's worth. And remember to take it with a grain of salt. McKennie got a 6.3, which is meh, it's not great. And Timothy Weah got a 7, which is not bad. It's a pretty good one. I also watched both of the goals. Maybe Tim Weah could have done better defending on the first goal, but I don't really think it was his fault. I don't really think any of the Americans were directly at fault on any of the goals they conceded. Next on the list, we have the Americans that play for PSV. Serginho Dest, Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi, and Richie Ledesma. And on Wednesday, Ricardo Pepi started and played 76 minutes for PSV during their 3-2 win over Liverpool. Tillman and Dest are still injured, so they were not available, while Richie Ledesma came off the bench around the 66th minute. I watched the first half of this game, but before I say what I'm about to say, I want to add some context here. This was a great win for PSV, and, you know, a great game from Ricardo Pepi. He was productive. We're about to talk about that. But Liverpool was rotating, and they played pretty much their backups. So it was more of PSV versus Liverpool's B team, right? The backups, the subs. It still doesn't matter. It's a massive win. But the context is important. You can only beat the opponent that is in front of you. And Pepi beat the living crap out of them in the first half. He had a wonderful shoulder assist. Yes, you heard that right. A shoulder assist. The ball was in the air and he used his shoulder to set up his teammate. It was like a shoulder layoff. That might be the best way to describe it. And that's like if you ever played foot volleyball, have you ever played foot volleyball? It's very popular in Brazil. That's a foot volley move. Beautifully done. And then later, he scored a goal where he managed to get a slight deflection off a ball that came from a low cross. A true poacher-like goal. And as I said, the context that he was playing Liverpool's B team matters, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that much. Pepi started and he delivered once again. Next up, we have the Americans that play for Celtic, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. And on Wednesday, Trusty started and played the full 90 minutes for Celtic during their 4-2 loss to Aston Villa. Trusty conceded a penalty kick. He wasn't great in this game. The entire Celtic defense was horrible. And I know Aston Villa is a good team, but you know, they have to do better. As for Cameron Carter-Vickers, he was not available due to a muscle injury. It's unclear for how long he'll be out for. It seems like Carter-Vickers is injured every other month or something like that. It used to be his toe. It looks like his toe's okay. Now it's a muscle injury. Next up, we have the players, or the Americans that play for Borussia Dortmund, Gio Reyna and Cole Campbell. And on Wednesday, Gio Reyna started off the bench and was subbed in the 64th minute for Dortmund during their 3-1 win over Shakhtar. Now, Cole Campbell, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. As for Gio Reyna, he showed flashes of talent once again. But the big moment was during Borussia Dortmund's third goal, where Gio Reyna assisted Ben Sebani with a tremendous back heel pass in a combination play. The goal was so smooth and wonderfully done from start to finish. You can't teach this, man. It's just pure talent. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. The human body has 206 bones. But when I was watching that goal, I had 207. Okay, so before we continue in the video, I do want to go through the Champions League table just so you can know who advanced and in what position. So the top 8 teams advanced directly to the round of 16, where we have no Americans so far. Teams 9 to 24 will play a playoff round to qualify to the round of 16, and all Americans advanced to the playoff round. Dortmund finished in 10th place ahead of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Milan finished in 13th, PSV in 14th, Monaco with Balogun in 17th, Juventus in 20th, and Celtic somehow finished in 21st and advanced. They were not knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage. The draw for the knockout rounds will take place this Friday, and we will see Juventus face Milan or PSV. That is certain, one or another, due to the positions that they finished. But on Friday, we're going to know the actual matchups for sure. And we're probably going to be posting the matchups on Instagram and Twitter, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is Tactical Manager TV, and Twitter is Manager Tactical. We're also trying to hit 13,000 followers on Instagram, so if you can, follow us there. Thank you very much for that, and don't forget to drop a like in this video. Okay, so we had 2 Americans playing on Monday, and let's just go through that very quickly, and then we can wrap up the video. And the first one is Brenden Aaronson, and on Monday, Aaronson started and played the full 90 minutes for Leeds during their 0-0 draw with Burnley. I didn't watch this game, but I heard Aaronson did not play well. And the other American that played on Monday was Gianluca Busio. And on Monday, Busio started and played the full 90 minutes for Venezia during their 1-1 draw with Hellas Verona. Look, Venezia continues to suck. It is what it is. But Busio continues to do fine. He added physicality to his game. He's been winning most of his duels. He's been good in progressing the ball forward, very aggressive on the ball, and he did have a few shot attempts in this game, but he missed the target, unfortunately, every single time. Overall, I thought he was among their best performers, once again. Now, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, and also make sure to follow us on Instagram to help us hit 13,000 followers. With that said, I'll see you guys on Monday for the US Men's National Team Abroad Weekend Recap. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.